Hello and welcome to TADD Talks with Ada. I'm Alan P. Brown, ADHD productivity and business coach, coming to you from Crusher headquarters here in sunny San Diego. I'm stoked as always that Ada has invited me to be with you today, sharing a story I'm sure many of you can relate to. In keeping with this year's TADD Talks theme, this is my ADHD hero's journey. Now, while I don't think of myself as any kind of hero, that word's best reserved for folks like our military, first responders, and frontline healthcare workers. I do call myself a mess to success entrepreneur, and that's the story I want to share with you. So in the years before my ADHD was diagnosed at the age of 36, I floundered in school, barely graduated high school. It took me 10 years to get a 4-year degree. I floundered at work, making very slow progress in my first 6 years as a New York City ad exec. And I floundered at life generally, failed relationships, alcohol and drug abuse, and worse. But one day, my boss at the time told me about his recent ADHD diagnosis, which, like so many of us, came about only because his child was diagnosed. And while my doctor at that time told me that, well, Alan, ADD is it's a myth created by the media, and you just need to do more crossword puzzles, which delayed my diagnosis and treatment for another 4 years. I later saw a newspaper ad for the Manhattan Adult ADD Support Group, and then it's a group that's still going. And their upcoming meeting was with a guest expert speaking on the topic of ADD, doctors who get it and doctors who don't. And bam, with a new doctor by then who did get it, I got diagnosed and treated, but also all my floundering made sense. I also realized why I had in recent years been formulating what I call brain hacks that helped me finally start getting some traction in my career, even before my diagnosis. So combined with that diagnosis and treatment, my brain hacks helped me go in the space of just about 2.5 years from lowly account executive making mid 5 figures to vice president and employee of the year at the biggest ad agency in the country at that time and making 6 figures. All while in my spare time, co-founding and helping to build my first startup. But next came my real challenge. It was time to quit my now successful advertising career and go full time with the startup, which had no money, no investor, and no product, just an idea that we believed in. This was scary, not just for the obvious reasons, leaving the security of that job with the great money and my newfound success, but doubly scary for a guy with ADHD who had finally figured out how to thrive in the corporate environment where your instructions and goals are made clear for you. Your daily calendar is pretty much predetermined by your boss, your client, your job description. In other words, I feared that left to my own devices and my ADHD brain, I would completely fall apart in a purely entrepreneurial environment without all those external systems and guardrails to keep me on track. But I took the plunge. Just 2 months after being named Employee of the Year, I quit that 6-figure corporate job and entered the unknown. No salary, no external structures, just me, my 2 co-founders, my ADHD brain, my meds, and the handful of brain hacks I had already begun to get some traction with. And I doubled down on those brain hacks. I got more curious about how my brain worked and how it didn't work. I developed new brain hacks for procrastination, prioritization, time management, et cetera. And long story short, that startup, the one with no money and no product when I quit my job, and that we funded mostly with our own credit cards, which put me $100,000 in credit card debt, it was eventually sold for over $12 million. Now, I returned to my first love, advertising, and armed with that, with what was now a full arsenal of brain hacks, I excelled once again, becoming top exec at an award-winning New York ad agency. But then came my next calling into the unknown. I had the idea to share my brain hacks in a video program I would call ADD Crusher. I used my brain hacks to power me through a year of working on the concept every evening after coming home from my demanding day job. And soon it was time to say goodbye again to the structures and comforts of the corporate world and hello to the unknowns of entrepreneurship. But this time with no co-founders, which in that first startup were a savvy financial guy and a talented sales gal, without whom that company would never have been built and sold for 12 mil. So could I pull it off? Well, I didn't know, but I did know that one of my ADHD superpowers was a willingness to take risks, like quitting that vice president six-figure job at the big ad agency to dive into an unknown that would ultimately pay off handsomely. So I semi-retired from the ad agency, started Crusher Solutions LLC, created ADD Crusher, became a certified coach, started Crusher TV, and then began coaching coaches. And now I'm back to working for a boss, actually two bosses, myself and you, my ADHD tribe. So that's my ADHD hero's journey so far. And I can't wait for the next adventure into the unknown, whatever that may be. Though I know it will call on all my resources, my ADHD brain, my brain hacks, some risk taking, and you, my tribe. I'm so glad you could join me today for this ADA TAD talk about my ADHD hero's journey, which I call my mess to success story. I'm Alan P. Brown, ADHD and productivity and business coach. And if you want more information about me or my work with ADHD adults and ADHD coaches, find me online at addcrusher.com, where you can grab my free ebook, 5 Things You're Doing Every Day That Make Your ADHD Worse. And yes, you're doing them all. We all are. So grab that ebook at addcrusher.com and feel free to connect with me there or shoot me an email. Bye for now. And remember, whatever's in your way, it is yours to crush.